The plot wants to be, it wants to be National Treasure, but it isn't. Like, there's just so many steps along the way where they go and find a clue, and then they go somewhere else and find another clue, and it's Angels and Demons, or the Da Vinci Code, or National Treasure, or whatever. There's just an awful lot of like MacGuffin. Find the MacGuffin, realize that it's just yet another clue, go somewhere else, find another MacGuffin, realize that's a clue. Sometimes in a Papa John's, also could be in a Papa John's. Depends sometimes.
On just when you need a little bit of extra funding.
Right. It could be a Papa John's. So all this, I mean, basically they're trying to find Magellan's treasure. Apparently Ferdinand Magellan had some mysterious treasure that he kept somewhere, and that has been hidden from the world for centuries. And we first meet Tom Holland's character in a museum with his brother. They found a map. That map was like the first map of the whole world, and that's also somehow a treasure map. And then cut to years later, he's now estranged from his brother, and then he meets Mark Wahlberg's character, Sully, who I understand is supposed to actually be more like a 60-year-old guy, or kind of older.
Yeah. Mark Wahlberg plays Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg plays Mark Wahlberg in most movies that Mark Wahlberg is in. I'm okay with that, by the way. I like Mark Wahlberg.
He's made a lot of money
doing it, and I'm pretty okay with it in general. But I don't. It didn't seem like he was playing a old, grizzled mentor character, which seems like the character that's from the game, but. Also, I guess Nathan Drake is supposed to be older as well. This Tom Holland's character is supposed to be older too. But
yeah, a little bit. I think it's more an issue with just Tom Holland being. I mean, he plays young for Peter Parker because he looks like a teenager.
Yeah.
But for this role, it just need to have a little bit more. Need to be closer to Harrison Ford than Timothy Chalamet.
Okay, yeah, that's probably
as far as looks go.
Fair. But he is not. He is definitely on the other end of that.
No.
Well, anyway, the movie, there's not much to say about the movie, frankly. It's find a map, go where the map points you, find an arrow that points you somewhere else, go where the arrow points you, find another symbol, will take you to another place, and then eventually at that place, you'll find a clue that takes you somewhere else in the world, where then you start the whole process over again and start discovering clues in the new location until you eventually find the gold, right? Like that's pretty much the whole sequence. But meanwhile, of course, there's an evil billionaire who wants the gold for himself, which, by the way, it actually feels like he has some claim on the gold, because the whole point of the evil billionaire is that his family financed the Magellan expedition explicitly with the idea that they would get a share of the gold that they brought back, and they never brought it back. So that actually feels a little bit like that guy was jilted, except for they became billionaires anyway. So he's fine. Or, well,
not anymore.
But yeah, I don't know. So I actually would have found, so Antonio Banderas plays this evil billionaire, and I actually would have found like there are little moments where they tried to make me, I don't know, sympathetic to his character. May not be the right way to describe this, but make me understand him a little bit more. Like he at least cares about his family's legacy or whatever, in theory. Except for I think it would have been a lot more interesting if he came from a family that financed the expedition and then went into bankruptcy because it never materialized anything. And so if he was just like a regular guy who had this family history and this is going back to National Treasure, this is actually a little bit of the National Treasure thing, right? Like in National Treasure, Nicolas Cage's character has a connection to the treasure, except for his family has been over the years, his family has lost all of their credibility as a result of searching for this treasure. Like they've become the kooks of this treasure hunting world. because they've been so obsessed with it. And so he's coming at it from this standpoint where he's like, he really wants to find it for the same reasons that Antonio Banderas says he wants the gold. He wants to solidify his family's legacy. But his family's legacy is people everybody thinks are insane and not a multi-billion-dollar company that controls Spain somehow. So a little different, a little bit different. But yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, Antonio Banderas is great. He was good in this too, just not enough.
Yeah. Well, can we just get into spoilers? Because I want to. I mean, he gets killed by a henchman, which just really undercuts the whole. Like, I know what they're trying to do. First of all, it's a big twist, right? But it's not that big of a twist. It's not that surprising. And also, like, I don't care about the underling that kills him. And she's not that interesting. So Toddy Gabrielle plays Joe Braddock, who is like a rival treasure hunter that supposedly has some pre-existing relationship with Sully, I guess. I don't really know what her motivation is, other than the fact that she was getting paid to find this treasure on behalf of Antonio Banderas. But then she just completely bloodlessly slits his throat, which, again, with this movie has no danger of any kind. Apparently, you can have your throat cut and you can die without bleeding, which is what this movie taught me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's weird. Like, all of that stuff are just weird. And that's a particularly weird choice because there are ways, like, you could just have choked him out or something, where if you really didn't want to show blood on the ground, then there are other ways of dealing with it.
Yeah, we've been doing deaths off screen, off camera for years now. I feel like we could have.
But she did it right there in front of like 20 people, and then we cut back to him a couple times. Nothing. It just felt so fake. Just everything about that just felt so incredibly fake that it just, like, I don't know, it just takes away from everything. But anyway, Braddock isn't the only one who wants it. Also, there's this girl, Chloe Fraser. She also wants the treasure. Again, has some connection to Sully, some pre-existing connection. I don't know. I mean, it's just a string of people who either have or are trying to get the MacGuffin, and that's pretty much it. And nobody is ever in any danger or risks much of anything of their own to get it.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Not a lot of drama, but we do end with a final, what I suppose is supposed to be an impressive set piece of two ancient sailing ships being pulled into the air by freight helicopters, and then they chase each other over the ocean for, I don't know, probably 100 miles or so, swinging around, banging into each other. I don't know whose idea that was, but it kind of wrecked my brain at the end of the movie. You get there, and there's so many things about it too. Like, Braddock has one of the helicopters strapped to, and keep in mind, these ships are 500 years old, and
hundreds. Yes, I mean, it's would have rot.
They've been sitting
all this stuff
in a cave for hundreds of years, a wet cave for hundreds of years. They have gold, which, by the way, the gold doesn't weigh anything. That's the other thing I learned from this movie, is that you can have an entire backpack full of gold objects. Yeah, you can lift it up with one hand. Not a big deal. Gold's not heavy, apparently. So you've got these ships, two of these ships, they're just completely full of gold, and they get airlifted in their entirety. They are completely structurally sound. They do not break. These are exceptionally strong ships. And they're full of gold. And so then Braddock has one of them, like, I don't know, seconds away from being able to land it on the barge that she wants to like keep the ships on. And when Mark Wahlberg absconds with the second ship, she's like, no, don't drop the ship that we already have with all the gold in it on the barge and then go chase after him. She's like, no, let's go chase after him right now. It's just like, oh, decisions that get made by characters. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, there was first. I don't know if this would have solved a lot of these issues, but it just seemed like the time frame for when the gold was discovered to when the gold's being rediscovered is just way too long. Yeah, like it's just maybe like the Nazis discovered it and then got sunk or something, and now it's in like actual metal ships or something, anything else that would make it a little bit more plausible. And also Antonio Banderas harboring 500-year-old family grievances.
Yeah.
It's not much of a motivation.
No, and they had to make him extra evil because his family had funded Franco's fascist regime in Spain as well. So it's like some of this is like atonement for ancient grievances, but it's also like I'm gonna make my family proud again after its shameful experiences with fascism, or I don't know. Like there's just a lot thrown in there that I'm not really sure what to do with.
Yeah.